Hello everyone, and in today's video we'll be looking at episode 7 of What If Civilization Started Over. Now, in the last episode, it didn't go so well. The recording disappeared and you had to see a bad video, so let's look at this video. But remember to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy it. So first of all, we see China starting to discover new lands. As they discover all of this Chinese land over here, eventually Taiwan is known about. And over in Korea, they're also discovering a lot. This island is discovered, as well as parts of Japan is starting to be discovered. I keep saying discovered for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways, more of New World Asia. The New World in this case will be explored. This Mongolian country is also they want to explore a lot of land, so of course they can take that land. But they are not the most stablest of countries, and they're not the richest of countries yet, so they won't expand much. But over in Sakhalin, this entire island is discovered, and they're able to put two and two together and find out the coast over here. So these countries have discovered a lot of land. Over to China, all of this is discovered, which is a lot of land. And these two countries will take it upon themselves to start expanding. This Chinese country will start mainly focusing on the coast, trying to connect back up with Korea. But they do take some inland land as they see it as valuable. Maybe not right now, but one day it could be valuable. And they expand themselves this much now. Over to Korea, they're also going to expand a lot. They take this modern South Korean island and they make a landing on Japan and start to set up a little colony, taking all this Japanese land, which is a fair bit of land, so maybe they're set up for the future. And they will also start expanding up north, trying to connect up with China, but they honestly have better things to deal with. So yeah, they don't connect up as of yet, but they're getting close to connecting up, and I hate these borders. That's still not nice. You know what? That's better. Not much better, but a bit. Over to Mongolia, they don't really care what their people want, and they will expand tremendously, taking all this land, and they're very expansionist. Their leader is again very expansionist. Now, I would do an ideology map, but I'm saving that for some later episodes. As of now, every country is rather dictatorship or monarchy, and yeah, so it'd get a bit boring. And after a few years, they look like this. Of course, Mongolia formed because they wanted they wanted to control this trade route. And China and Korea are still building the trade route. And Mongolia is starting to tax the hell out of it. So eventually these two trade routes meet, and they meet in Mongolia's capital. And a lot of countries don't really like this. So China and India will start a little project going around I'm just going to say Mongolia. So China and Bangladesh, China, India and Bangladesh, this is not China. India and Bangladesh work together. The new trade route meets up with the Bengali capital. For the most part, snakes down the coast, for eventually going through the woods, which may not be a good idea, and eventually going through this part of modern China. Now, China and Korea also are building this new trade route that goes around this river, as they don't know how to build a big enough bridge anyways. And eventually, the trade routes will be connected up. And Mongolia is not happy about this. They want their country to be like the centre of it all. So they're not scared to use their new army. But speaking of armies, we see something happen in the Red Team now. The Red Team has been on top since episode 1. They've been the strongest country, second richest country, since pretty much the first episode. really no one's been able to topple that. But something happens in the red team. This Bulgarian land here will start a little revolution. Now usually this wouldn't be much of a problem for the red team, but something happens. Ukraine joins this war and taking all of Crimea, and that was the oldest border in the world. So yeah, anyways. The Bulgarians will start receiving aid from the blue team, as the blue team really they want a weaker red team and they want their old red team land back. And the red team will see this, and when Bulgaria is cut off from the rest of the red team will declare war on the blue team now. The red team had a big army in Turkey, mainly focused on the blue team, so these troops will start focusing on their capital. Eventually the siege of the blue team's capital happens, and the red team will start a spearhead out to this major city before the siege of that major city occurs. Something happens. The blue team will start seeing a lot of people signing up to the military, and with all this help, they're able to push back the red team forces, capturing one of their major cities. And the siege of this major city is a blue team victory, and they're able to push back the red team. Now, the red team has the biggest population in the world, but that doesn't really matter. Ukraine, the blue team, and now the revolting Bulgarian team are really strong. I mean, not Bulgaria, but Ukraine and the blue team are. And Ukraine is like sending troops and aid to the blue team, and that's why the blue team's really just able to have their way with the red team. If Ukraine wasn't in this war, the blue team would have probably lost their capital by now. And the blue team will now start aiding in Bulgaria, and all of Turkey eventually goes back under the control of the blue team, and the red team is very mad. And the blue team even takes Athens, one of the red team's most important cities ever. And the blue team will start to focus on Greece. But a miracle happens. The lime team will join this war, as in the last episode, the lime team entered a civil war and lost a lot of land to the red team. And the people in this area, the red team just annexed, are pro-lime team, so they will start the invasion of the red team, and it goes very well. And the red team isn't doing so well. To make this whole thing worse, the pink Carthaginian team also joins this war. They hate the red team, and Carthage is taken, the red team's most important African city. And eventually the red team will be squeezed out of Africa, and a landing on Sicily and Sardinia occurs. The red team is very mad. They will be able to push back the Bulgarians to an extent. I mean, not much, but they're able to push them back and take a major city. But with the blue team sending more and more aid, Bulgaria is able to get really far. And this major city here is the red team's second most important city behind their capital, but this is the old capital of the red team, and they really want to keep that city. So the red team will start pumping troops into Greece really fast. Eventually the siege of this city occurs, which the red team is really mad. They don't want to lose this city at all. So the red team will hold on to it for as long as they possibly can. But it isn't going so well for the red team, as now England joins this war, as they want control over Cornwall, which they quickly get Cornwall and eventually just leave this war. But something worse for the red team will happen. Well, there'll be two things. Number one, France joins this war. Nothing bad. I mean, I'm kidding, France is really strong. But there'll be some more revolts. Kurdistan revolts away and proclaims a new country. And of course, the red team won't accept their little ultimatum or declaration of independence. So they're going to start sending troops over here, taking out this rebellious group and this one. But eventually, France will start aiding this purple Brittany country. I'm just going to tidy up their little issues here. Now looks a lot better. with French aid, they're able to capture two major cities of the Red Team. And with the Line Team trolling up the coast over here, the Red Team will agree to peace with all these countries now. This is the first ever war the Red Team's lost, and this is a major war, and the Red Team has been destroyed by this, but nonetheless they will agree to a peace treaty, so we can look at that. So in this treaty, we see a lot happen. First to the Black Sea, the Ukrainian country gets all of Crimea, the Blue Team gets all of its alt land back, and over to the rest of the Mediterranean, the Pink Team gets all of the Red Team's African land, and will put its new capital in Carthage, as they've always wanted this city, and they've all let me put their capital. Well, yeah, that looks good. Put their capital in Carthage. So the Lime Team, they actually get a lot more land than they was actually thinking they'd get. They get all this. France also gets a lot. And over to the two new countries, I guess Brittany or Normandy and Bulgaria. So for Bulgaria, they will put their capital right here, kind of in the centre of their country, but not really. The Red Team still has its old capital in Greece from episode 1. They cherish this city a lot. And to this country's capital, they're going to put it right there. And England also gets all of Cornwall. But before the Blue Team can celebrate, see Iraq invading, as they want to have access to the Black and Mediterranean Sea, and the Blue Team is their weakest opponent, so they will start the invasion. The Blue Team at this point is a top 10 country, they're the number 10th country, but Iraq has been building up for this. They're rivaling, well, Red Team is probably still a top 5 power, but I wouldn't call them number 1 anymore, so I'll update the thingy map, the something map later. But the Iraq country meets up with the Mediterranean and takes this major city. But at this point, the Circle Alliance starts to aid the Blue Team, and with this aid, there's a stalemate, and eventually Iraq finally realises that they're not going to be able to push up and get to the Black Sea. They are happy with getting access to the Mediterranean, so let's look at this peace treaty. So in this treaty, we see Iraq taking a big old bite out of the Blue Team, but to be honest, the Blue Team doesn't really... the Blue Team cares, as they've just lost land, but they only lost 2 major cities. Well, that was a lot. Anyway, I'm trying to say is the Blue Team still gets to keep Antonia, which is the important areas. But something, the Iraq country did expect this, but if I can get to the alliance here, we see the Blue Team finally join up with the circles, and this is very bad for the squares, as the Blue Team, they can try influence to get Bulgaria to join their alliance. I don't know if they'd be successful, but they can try. The Blue Team and Bulgaria have very positive relations, so yeah, whatever. So yeah, over to, I guess, the Nordics. It's a lot more peaceful here. It's not, but what I'm trying to say is Sweden will start to expand, eventually taking all this now. They're expanding to try to show off to Denmark. Their relations have kind of dropped with Denmark since that new king or queen or whatever got into power, who is anti-Sweden and pro give us all of Norway or else we'll invade. Whatever. And the Danish are a capable country. They're not a top 10 power, not as strong as Sweden. They could probably give a good fight to Germany, probably take over Estonia, and other than that, I don't really know. But the Danes are stronger than England, and England has some problems with the Square Alliance. So the Danes will start being Vikings and will land in England, very Vikings. And when this happens, we see the Scottish join the war against England. I don't know what's happening. With this, Ireland also doesn't join the wars, they don't need to, but with this, England is pretty much destroyed. We can look at this peace treaty. So in this treaty, we see England get destroyed. They'll keep their capital in York. Scotland takes a lot of land. Denmark now has a foothold in England, and for the next 400 years there'll be the Viking wars with England. I'm not going to show them because they're not going to be important, but pretty much every episode there'll be Viking ships raiding England, English ships raiding Denmark and Norway, but it's not going to be important because, I don't know, it just won't be. Over to the pink team. After feeling a lot more confident after winning the first Mediterranean War, yeah, the first, they will start taking this land now. With Morocco, they're not really friendly with each other, and they don't really like each other. They're each other's biggest rivals. Morocco sees this happening. They think pink team's trying to get stronger to invade them, as they hate each other. We see Morocco starting to beef up their army. Over to Egypt. They haven't done much in the last couple of episodes. I think the last time I mentioned them was episode 3, and that was the war against the blue team. And what's Egypt doing now? They're starting to claim parts of the Sahara, as they think there's resources in it. Egypt expand this much now. The pink team in Egypt will make an land agreement to take over this land here, and we see the first ever exclave in the series now. I haven't been doing exclaves as they're ugly and I don't like them, but I feel like at this point exclaves in real life at this time they'd be like random floating bits of country in other countries, so I should have made more exclaves, but this is the first exclave which looks horrible, but the pink team's gonna have to deal with it. It looks genuinely horrible in this exclave. I might just do this. I don't like it, but I'm gonna have to keep it. Over to what Egypt gets. They actually get a fair bit of land. They are at this point the strongest country in the world, and I will update the rankings later, but just not now after I've done recording, as after every episode I do the new provinces for the land that has been taken. So yeah, I'll do it after and you'll see it in the next episode. Now, there's been a lot of wars in this episode, so I'm going to go to a place that hasn't had any wars. I think they haven't had any, well, they have. Central Asia. I actually don't know if these guys have had, well, there's a civil war, so. Anyways, over to the grey team. They haven't done much to them, but they will start their little hello? Someone's banging the door in my house. Anyways, they will start a little expansion now. These guys are a proud Circle team member. They've just been building up their military and economy as they border Turkmenistan, who is slowly starting to get ahead of them. And the grey team doesn't want this, so they will start expanding. Turkmenistan will also start expanding, and the grey team and Turkmenistan are pretty much the same in terms of strength. Economically, and the grey team is a lot more economically stable. In terms of politically, Turkmenistan, I mean, if you don't agree with the government, you're gonna get killed. And that's pretty much it with every other country, but anyways, so they're pretty much the same in terms of strength. This green country here doesn't really care what the other countries in the world do. They just want to focus on themselves, which is fair. I mean, they will take, if it'll let me, they will take all this land over here, forming some very decent borders. I don't know if these are nice borders. Now, the purple team, they've really lost a lot. when they started, they used to be a big country. They're still a big country, but they used to have a bit more, so they're going to expand over to the Mongol Empire. I'm just gonna call it the Mongol Empire. It pretty much is. And now they can start trading with like Chinese goods, but at a very high rate, because of course the Mongols are taxing everything that comes into their territory. And the Purple Team will also start expanding some more. A lot, as they've been saving up a lot of money, been growing their population, so they can start expanding, and they look like Czechoslovakia, because they have a really long country at this point. But they're not Czechoslovakia. Over to the Green Team, they will also start expanding. They're not going to link up with Mongolia, as I don't know why, they just don't. But they take all this over to, yes, the New World, but it's not really the New World, it's the Old World. Well, it's a new world for them, but the Americas is the new world for us. Anyways, after about few years of just looking at the waters of Japan, they just discover all of Japan, and this is very nice. Japan's a good place to live, and yeah, all these islands are eventually discovered, but they don't get into this part of Russia as it's too cold. But they are able to explore a lot more of this land over here eventually, doing something that looks like this. What I'm trying to say is they discover all this land here, and all of like these countries here, including the Mongols, are starting to explore. Now the Mongols are exploring as they think exploring means more land to take. I mean, they're not wrong. If you explore more land, there's more land to take. So the Mongols like exploring as they like to take land. And after like a few more years, they will start to get a very big country now. They don't have a lot of population. Pretty much all of their population are in their capital and their one major city. And yeah, this isn't very good. The Mongols also link up with the Green Team, something the Green Team did not do. But yeah, the Mongols are becoming very big. I don't want to say they're the biggest country ever. Sweden, India, the Orange Team, Ukraine. I mean, the Red Team's still big, but they're getting up there in terms of size. Maybe they're the biggest country. Anyways, speaking of India, they will start to explore a bit of the Himalayas. They send some mad lads. Well, they're doing something smart. There's some people that are going to be executed, but before they use them to discover the Himalayas. They lie, saying, if you discover it now, we will set you free. But when they come back with everything they found, they just get executed. So India's being a bit smart, but not very nice. But this is, I mean, they're probably, the year for them currently is probably about 500 AD, so this would be normal back then. So yeah, so India's been very smart for the time. I mean, if this happened in modern day, India would probably get sanctioned, but who cares? And over in Malaysia, this whole peninsula will be discovered, and these islands are now starting to be discovered. As, I mean, why not? You can just discover it. Eventually some Filipino islands will start to be discovered, which goes very well as this whole southern island here is discovered, and a lot more are. Over to Russia, this red country will also start exploring land to take it, kind of like what Mongolia is doing. So, I can't speak and I'm being very quiet. And so all this land is known about. And the red team will take it upon themselves to start expanding, which they do. They expand this much, which, I mean, they're a new country, but this is pretty impressive for them. And they're able to take a lot of land, but they're still a landlocked country and they want to fix that. Not in this episode, but yeah. The last event of today's video, you see a new country forming right over here. So yeah, that'll do it for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and bye everyone.